Yeah, for this is almost sixth time, and so I found that all the participants, it's not the first time, so I can omit it for this session for introductions. All right. So today's agenda is for bookkeeping. So let's starting from the mindset. So yeah. So what kind of mindset capacities are important for managing money? So this is typical, the general 3 steps, and yeah, for think about the protection of your asset or money. And the next is earning timing. And it's actually when you through your business, you need to generate income, then to how creating your asset as a savings. Then the third step is increment. So this is the high time to start investment, what you have and as asset. Then it's more efficiently and to increment your asset. But I believe it's not a simple way of like this 3-step as a stage. Yeah, maybe it depends on the stage of what kind of company. I mean, the early stage, the growing stage, and mature stage. That's depends on this step, and then I believe you repeatedly parallelly of this go through this step. I believe. I mean, for these 3 activities, so as today we particularly mention about this protection as a first stage because whenever when you start or even during the business, we believe you should prepare some financial literacy as a mindset. So how I believe there are so many variety of method you can access this kind of information. As the most casual way is to any internet, and from your smartphone or website, and you can just type in the keywords, or just you can find article on the feed, and so it is most how frequent style and to how to access. Or as today's so some people, some company have organized this kind of opportunity for as a webinar or seminar, any speech or advertisement. So we have some special occasion, and to particularly we talking about this topic. So anyway, so this is kind of spiral circle. So not only one shot, this is kind of continuous process. So I hope and if you are interested in to creating your asset, I hope repeatedly or regularly you can access some site, or you can access some particular website or homepage, or some companies, organizations website. They repeatedly post on this kind of very useful informations. Today we focus on this first step as a protection means, for we talking about the topic of bookkeeping. So bookkeeping is one of the financial literacy, and to how to increment your analysis skill for your capacity, financial capacity. So let's start. So we're gonna talking about the transformation of your business and by bookkeeping. So this is the survey result of coming from the today's participants. We get the answer from 4 participants. So we asking these 3 questions. First, you keeping the track of record of income and expenses? All of them say yes. Good, great. And the second one is, are you doing bookkeeping for your business? I found almost 75% are yes. This is also good, very good. It is a first step as to know your capacity. And final question is, do you keep separate accounts between your business and personal? And all of them said yes. So these are the very, very first step, for as elementary step as for business. When you start the business, we hope. So these are the point, the initial elements, and to be aware of. So when the first time the people come to our office, and we always asking these questions to begin with. So overall, our participants is already fulfilled and saturated of this first step. But why many people are not able to keep track? It's there are so many reasons, and so one is busy, and it's like hassle, and also it's previously yes, but now somehow stopped. And another one is what the reasons, the lack of understandingness of this significancy of the meanings, or the assumption that you must keep detailed and accurate records, and the someone not knowing what method is proper. So some people don't know the bookkeeping, then just imagine it's maybe the very challenging process, but actually it's not. So today, I hope the participants can see some basic process of the bookkeeping, and we hope, and it just start even from today. So this is the meaning, how can I say, the significance of by bookkeeping, what you achieved. So first, to clarify the how the money will be used. And this is also the historical record. So we recommended at least 6 months you keep the recording. Then you can easily to compare with each month. So then from this comparison chart or table, you clearly find it what you spend as average. And then naturally you can find excessive expenses or too low expenses compared with the average, or from the industry. And this is really interesting process to find out yourself. Second, and then so it means you can keep stable cash flow. And so if you find the excessive expenses, then you can reduce your expenses, that you can maintain the necessary cash flow every month. And also, if you have enough cash flow, your repayments will be on time always. So you don't need to be worried about your repayments, and you always be stable, and to how can I say, keep your basic behavior pattern for this accounting transactions. And finally, the risk is very reduced, and also the events of the shortage of it is really scared. For everybody, when you borrow money from the lender, the majority of people are afraid of what's happened in the end, the events of shortage, and people ask us a lot of questions: what kind of penalty have, what kind of process have, because they feel this is the risks. So to avoid these risks, we highly recommend it of the bookkeeping, and to achieve this kind of result. So it means you don't need to worry. You can escape from the worriness, and then you can keep your stability of your business. And finally, if you keep the good track record for 12 months, from our average term, long term will be the 12 months, then finally you get the beautiful historical record. You can use this historical record to borrow money from the banks in the future after 2-3 years. So then you can increment your credit worthiness in the future. So the bookkeeping is just the first step. That's the first point. But if you keep the bookkeeping, the result is really big. So we can shift it to the next agenda. So how to keep the bookkeeping. We have a simple method. So generally, as we discussed this topic before previous webinar as well, so generally speaking, we have 3 steps. First, just record the daily income and expenses like a diary. So later on, or you can also to review our webinar, then just using the simple Excel, then just put your date and put your income or expenses in one line. So every day you need to keep, and whenever you have a transactions, and you should differentiate it. Each transaction, you shouldn't be gathered. So each transaction, each payment, or each income should be in one line as recognized in a different transactions. This is the tips. And then second step is categorize. In usually the end of each month, you should categorize of each income and expenses. Later on, we can show the samples. And so then you have, it depends on your industry. You might have some typical income generate. So it should be categorized from the generate income source. So if you have a 2 business and you have the two categories of the income source, and it like that. And also expenses the same. We have a typical expenses category. It also depends on industry or depends on your corporate size. So you can learn. I mean, you can get this kind of information from the website or from our Excel. You can set your own categories by yourself. And final point is analyzing. Then analyzing usually 6 months minimum. Then finally you can find some principle or directions as your business. And then, so according to this principle, the directions, so you should keep your expenses according to your method. So you keep yourself and of the tighten of your expenses, because expenses always tend to expand, keeping expanding. But if you are business owner, definitely you have some principle that you should minimizing or you should keep within your budget. That's the control. So that's the final goals, and to make good analysis and keep a good track record for your expenses and income. Right, then, so here is first step. It's more how break down the tips one, clarify your goals. And usually the goals is the manage the budget, maximizing earnings, yes. And tips 2, choose an easy means. It depends on your lifestyle or the working style. You can use the apps or Excel and notebook or papers and whatever. It's fine. Then you can choose as it really preferable one for you. That is one. And the second step, category step. So this is a typical category. I mean, I think this is today's fashion and boutique. So later on, we have activities. So we choose the boutique industry. So I believe this is some kind of the typical boutique. For example, expenses, not only boutique. So of course, it cover with the basic business and rent, utility, inventory, purchase, employee wage, and marketing and advertisement fee, and store maintenance and repairs, and miscellaneous. So the others, everything is put in a 7. So this category depends on your industry, and typical one, the big one should be identified. So I mean, for if you have more ingredients or particular ingredients should be categorized in different way. So please consider yourself and your business, then category properly. And the income, in this case, sales and return and refunds and gift card. So this is the fashion boutique sales. So first, natural sales. Second one is return back. And third one is if they issue some gift card or coupons. So this is another income of this shop. And the final step, analysis. So final goals is making decision. So what kind of decision they make? First, establish your budget, your own budget of your company. That's really big topic as to management control your accountings as an entrepreneur. So it is most the highest goals of this bookkeeping. And then how, and also the everyday expenses, how you can consider how you will allocate it your money. And this is in detail, you can decide through the bookkeeping, depends on your category. It's also the capacity of how to control your expenses. And the third is, of course, you can reduce spendings. And if you know the budget, you can do the effort to minimizing your expenses within this budget. So without the budget, you don't know the goals. But with the budget, it's easy to maintain yourself because of you knows how much you need for each category. So it is really where efficient way to how to manage yourself, how to create in the goals of the amounts of the budget. It takes time to maximize, the accumulating of the data, usually 6 months, but it's worth to do it. So we highly recommend you to start the bookkeeping today and to accumulating record, to analyzing your record, to finally you can create in the budget. It's really, really, really benefit for you. Okay. So the lecture part is done. So today we try the new style and we try the activities as a group. So, Kane-san, to switch. All right. So the activity, I can transfer the lead to Ms. Kanna-san. And so please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Kumiko-san. So just a moment, please. I will share the screen again. Okay, so from now on, I will briefly explain about our activity. So yeah, let's say now, from now on, we are the owner of the boutique called of we are the you are the owner of fashion boutique, and we offering like stylish clothing and accessories, especially for women. So now we would like to focus on the important process of bookkeeping, where income and expenses are analyzed by each category. So, yeah. So here is the basic information of our fashion boutique. So industry is fashion retail, and well, actually we have two case of bookkeeping. The case one is successful case, which means they have enough buffer, and case two is more like a failed case, which means like they don't have enough buffer. So each case has each location, and store size also different, but they have 6 staff members, so employees member are same, and they have a specific inventory and marketing strategy. Basically, we have 2 strategy. One is the digital one, and another one is more like physical, uh, focusing to local promotions. So I will send this information through WhatsApp. Through this message already, so you can see it in detail. Uh, okay, so now let's compare with both cases to identify the areas that where costs could be optimized, like which costs can be more reduced, so we can think about this kind of activity from now on. So yes, this is the 2 cases of bookkeeping, and I also will send the excel data later. So when you start doing activity, please refer it to come up with your own idea. Sorry. Now, okay. So I will divide it into the small groups. So just a moment, please. So far, is there any question regarding on this activity? Okay. So just a moment, please. Briefly speaking, okay. So basically, this activity is to find. Okay. So basically, this activity is to find the specific expenses item that can be considered as like reduce cost or something like that. So we need to find which items should be more reduced, more cut, so that we can regarding on this bookkeeping sheet, so that we can find more effective way to manage the money.
So the purpose is the especially for this case 2 people without the buffer. So especially these people, how can they create a better buffer? So then the way is only to reduce the expenses. So they need to compare with case 1 and 2 and find out how they reduce the expenses, then creating the better buffer. So this is the group study. So with your team, I hope you can discuss with your teammates to find out the solution, the way how to creating the better buffer. Okay.
So now, from now on, I will open the breakout room. So I hope you guys can join. Hello.
Hi.
Is everyone here now? Yep. I think I can see all of them. So we actually also prepared the general answer, but before I explain it, just I would like you to share the answers, like each opinions. So at first, how about Shamala, Miss Shamala's group?
Okay, so for Shamana's group, I will be the one who's gonna explain our opinions regarding on the buffer, how we reduce the buffer. So firstly, upon our discussion, regarding on the location, I think we should change the location instead. Since the case one is in the, I mean, in the case one is the IOI City Mall. Sorry, case two is IOI City Mall. So I think the the rent is slightly higher, and we should change the location to a cheaper place so that the rent cost will be reduced. And also, I see that from the location, the square feet also reduced. So I think upon the reduced number of location rent, I think utilities will be also decreasing. And then the second point is regarding on the marketing. So instead of choosing the platform that need to pay, I think the business should go for a free version because nowadays we have a lot of free options that can be used as a business owner. So that's our second point. And the third point is we should cut off the unnecessary miscellaneous expenses because, for example, in the expenses, we might spend in a news company like too much. Maybe we can reduce in terms of that. And our last point is finding a vendor for our company. So, in our opinion, by finding a vendor that provides a lower cost with high quality for investment purposes might be helpful to reduce the expenses, and then somehow we can also increase the number of sales in our company. So,
Yeah, thank you, Anissa. Oh, what did you say at the last point? Sorry, I couldn't catch your voice.
my last point is finding a vendor that provides a lower cost with high quality product.
Oh, I see. I see. I understood. Thank you for your great answer. So, how about the other group?
I hope that Miss Alia, have a lot of good opinions and
Oh, okay. I'll give it a try. Um, Firstly, I think for me, when I take a look at the case study, I have a slightly different opinion because I think it's based on a budget for a startup company. So if I were the owner, I would choose carefully about the location, the store size, and also the employee. So the controlling factor for me would be the locations because in case study 1 and 2, it is situated in the city. So as you all know, rental is quite expensive. So in terms of rental, I would try to put a minimum, average, and maximum budget for the item listed on this, like a rental. What is the affordable budget that I could afford? So for me, in terms of location, I would actually try to find a good location that does not cost that much, or I could have a different kind of, I could search for different locations that offer a much portable rental fees. So mine would be on the location, the rental, because this is a fixed cost on a monthly basis. So the store size, it depends, I think, on the capacity that we need to do. But in terms of selling inventories and storages, I guess as a startups, it depends also on your, storage wise, it is an issue as well. But if you're just a normal startup, so I think at the beginning, the quantity is not a lot. So you can move to another store if you need a bigger storage area. The third would be employees, because it's mentioned that they have 6 staff members. So for me, I would hire maybe an intern or part-time worker. A senior worker salary is quite expensive. So it's an option between senior and hiring junior, intern, or part-time. So the cost can be reduced tremendously. And the fourth one would be the marketing strategy. You could have a permanent bunting or banner for recruitment or advertisement at the store, in front of the store as well. Social media, digital marketing can be done at a selected hours only. So you can use Google Marketing, Facebook ads, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn. So there's a free version of it, and also there's a paid version. So at the beginning, I would say the paid version can be done regularly to increase more marketing in the near future. So that would be how I would do the cost cutting, and hopefully have some buffer on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Miss Alia. I also learned the new point, new point of view. So I think one more group. Could you share any other ideas, Chris, Mr. Chris?
Right. So I hope you guys can hear me well. Right. So actually, I was grouped with Mr. Tain. Unfortunately, he couldn't join because he's driving. So let me just mention some points that we actually saw and want to point out here, lah. First things first is the most obvious, the rent. She's overpaying for a place which cannot manage to cover back. Utilities is normal. And here I would like to emphasize on the inventory, lah. Right. For inventory, she compared to both of them, they're doing the same business nature. They're selling the same product, I would say so. But the sales revenue is the same, just that the inventory purchases is different. Where case 2 has higher inventory purchase, where I assume they buy overstock, means they buy more stock than they need to sell. So in this part, if they just need to analyze on the number of sales, they just need to get the stock as much as they can sell. That would be one point to reduce the inventory purchases. Next is for marketing. Even for the marketing, they spend too much money for the number of traffic that they can get in. Perhaps they could reduce and get more marketing partners, which can cost less and be more effective. For example, like Ms. Alia mentioned, also buntings, or they also can have flyers. And since this is a boutique, they can also have an expo, or like what did they call it? Mini kiosk in other, how to say, in the shopping mall itself, okay, like a sample. So that's one part. And other than that, yeah, these are the points that I look into, which they can really reduce their costing and expenses.
Okay, thank you so much, Krishna. Yep. So, yep. I hope everyone's opinion can be really helpful. It's really important. So the most important thing is I think the priority of each expenses is depends on the owner and their businesses. But we also have the general answers. So I will just share of them also. So, yep, here is the one of the example of the answers. So basically, as Ms. Alia also mentioned about that, expenses are divided into fixed expenses and variable expenses. So in terms of fixed expenses, the one of the biggest thing is I think the rental cost. So I think everyone also mentioned about the same opinions, but yeah, we can compare and contrast with the cheaper place and rent a smaller place. Yeah, it's really important to find the several options and just compare each other. And also another thing is energy saving practices. I know it's kind of a small factor to consider, but I think it's really important also. So like let's say changing to LED lights, or always make sure the power is turned off at closing time or something like that. Sorry. And also in terms of variable expenses, let's say our inventory. So we can analyze the sales data to identify the low margin items, and we can reduce their quantities. So it means we can stop or reduce ordering clothes that are not in such high demand. And the final one, about the salary, because we can research industry salary benchmarks and standard, because sometimes this basic salary is a bit more higher than average one. So before starting business, it's really important to look at the average salary to adjust the cost. So I think that's all from my side regarding on this activity. So I will pass to Anissa to have a Q&A session.
So, does anyone have any questions that throughout the activities maybe that you might be curious or not clear? You can raise a question. Any question? Maybe Miss Alia, do you have any questions or anything that you feel like unclear?
My question is that, as a startups, the challenge at the beginning, I think as a solopreneur or a one-man show, the cost of marketing is something that we need to spend more on, because as you know, marketing is about getting people to know the brand of our company. So we do need to spend a certain amount of money within reasons to do marketing to promote the company's brand. And so I think the challenge at the beginning, it's always allocating the right amount of money for marketing purposes, because in order to generate sales to do closing, you need people to know your brand. People need to use your service, use your product, or buy your product and services. And so what are the recommendations, for the best recommendation or advice that you can give to us in order to still be able to do marketing and cut down the other costs, practical ways of doing it? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Aria. This is so good questions, because I also, during this journey, I also think and which timing we should turn on the marketing cost. As when I start the early stage, I didn't spend the marketing cost because I only need the customer, and I don't have enough time and resource to spend any marketing costs. But as marketing cost, I feel like two categories. One is direct marketing cost, means whenever we get the customer, we need to pay like a successful fee. So in very early stage, we have a very limited resources. Then I only pay the marketing cost for when I get the customer. As we have marketing supporter, they call the event organizer. So then whenever one person they introduce us, then we pay the incentive cost for 2 to 3%, like a 2.5% per shot, 2.5% for the amount of loans in our case, because our business is money lending. So it depends on the industry, what kind of incentive, what kind of percentage also, what's the scheme, is depends on industry though, because only we need the customer. So it's because less capacity. So for a while, I think 1.5 years or 2 years, we spend direct marketing cost. Then after 2 years, 2.5 years, then when this year, so finally, so we have the plenty of members, including this member, honestly speaking. Then we have a little bit more budget than before, and because a lot of money come back from the borrowers. Then finally, I started for hire the marketing. As you know, Misaki-san and Shasha will help us, and also that we have enough member to start the SNS marketing. So this is another stage, I feel. So we go to the step up. The another stage is to start this kind of SNS digital marketing actually. So maybe 2-step, physical marketing and actual marketing. Then I mean, it's kind of, for me, I'm not sure the answer, but it's according to my experience. And so when you go to the next stage, you can spend more digital marketing cost, because digital marketing takes time to achieve the customers. But as you know, everybody here is, as you know, so there are 4 steps for the marketing process, and starting from the awareness and considering and the purchase, and then retaining of the customer, right? Then so as I believe awareness and considering is taking some time, like half of the year or 1 year minimum. So it's not easy to get direct customers suddenly. People never purchase the service suddenly. So it will take time to step up their process. So I think digital marketing is luxury things for the startup. Then, so when you have enough budget and enough resource, then you can start the digital marketing, I believe. It depends, very depends on the industry. So it depends on the strategy. So I can discuss earlier later.
All right. Okay, so thank you so much, Ms. Monito, for the answer. And I believe that since we have come to an end, it's 4 p.m. already, we shall end the webinar. And thank you all for joining our webinar today. We hope that you guys learned something today during the activities and all. So just for your information, that we are going to provide the webinar's content via email after this meet. So thank you so much once again, and have a nice day.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Have a nice day.